No, welcome to Steph's world. I think it's chapter 34. No, it's chapter 35. Uh, Today is the day 2 years ago that the army ladies knocked on my door and told me that my son was dead. I felt I'm challenged as it is, and they called me. I think that was God who gave them fast movement to catch me. And they took me into my living room and they talked to me. I don't even know what they said. No, I don't remember. It's a blank. My son was in the army for about 9 years. A lot of people know that because I talk about him a lot. What they don't know is his beautiful soul. Oh my God. It's so bright and full of light. And he loved people. He loved them deeply. He wasn't perfect. He had his issues like anybody else. But he was my son. When the other lady said, "We're not going to leave you until we think you're okay," I wasn't sure what that meant. They wanted to know if there was anyone I could call who could stay with me because I wasn't married or anything. My ex-husband, Matt's father, I don't think he would have been very good to come over and stay with me, but I did call and let him know. They had me call everyone that was close to me right then and there. His sister, his half-brother, his father, his grandparents. My father told me that my mother screamed the whole night. The whole night. We knew, there was always the possibility that when he was in the army that he might pass away. We knew that. But he was home. He was home. We just never in a million years thought that it was going to happen. It did. It did. Right before I started this, I got a phone call. It was my daughter making sure that I was okay. I'm not okay. Not, not today. Uh, people write things and they mean well, but until you lose your own child, you have no idea what to say. Probably the best thing to do is to say, I love you, I care about you. That's what I would do. You should tell me. I've been on his mind all day. That's important. That is really, really important. Because there's always a reason when I think I'm at my family or somebody that we're very close to spiritually, and she is close to me spiritually. All my children are mixed up here. I know you is. I want to talk about what happened to me last night. Some people might call it a dream, but I know the difference between a dream and a vision. I had a vision last night, and it was heavy, heavy, heavy duty. It was so much and so intense that this arm, I couldn't even lift it for 3 hours. It hurt so bad. I had literally dug into my bed. I had these huge marks all over my arm because of the deepness that I had dug into the bed. Well, I have seizures, and but I don't think this was from the seizure. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I also have something else that a lot of people may not believe in. Well, you can believe in them or not. I don't. It doesn't matter. I have them. The visions, and a lot of other things too. But I'm going to talk about this vision that I had early this morning. Usually when I have a vision, almost always in fact, God is involved in it. Okay. This morning, the vision was started out that God told me called representation of God, because God does not appear to me as well, I can't even describe it really. I don't even know where to begin. But the statement to me was, I'm not leaving, but I need you to see something, and I can't walk with you. You need to take this walk. But I won't be around. I will be here. Have no fear. And it was a amazing part. Have no fear. Well, I took the walk with what I perceived as God first. I had taken the walk. In fact, in a way, it felt like or my soul was above what I would call city. Lots of people were in it. In fact, it was a very large city. And after we took this journey above it, that's when God, my perception of God, let me know not to have any fear. And that God wasn't going anywhere, but I needed to do something. And I needed to do it fearlessly. And so I started to see it was full of people. I remembered one area in particular. Oh, and I was carrying, of all things, whiskey. Now, to me, alcohol is poison. It's death. That's what it is. It was half from the bottle. It was half. So there was poison in the world, partially. That's what it meant to me. Remember, this is a vision. They are not always very clear. And there were a few moments that I felt lost. And I actually did call out, this is my soul. And my soul doesn't actually speak, but my heart called out for help. But remember, my perception of God had told me to do this fearlessly. I kept reminding myself that I had to be fearless and have faith and trust. So I did. By doing that, I was able to actually see the city and the people and what was going on, what was happening. And what I saw was sadness, deep, deep sadness. And dirtiness and confusion, lots of confusion. I felt these things. And a few places were really nice. Really, really nice. But most of the places were. And there were children there, adults, and there was a marketplace. I went into the marketplace. I remember carrying that bottle of whiskey, the half-filled bottle. And I kept thinking, why do I have this? But, as I said before, to me, that was poison. And it was half-filled. And I knew that I did not drink that bottle. I already knew that. I wasn't sure where it came from or for sure why I had my hands on it and why I was carrying it now. that I was. And all of a sudden, the way became clear to me. And I knew where I needed to go. I knew at the same time where I needed to go. And I just kept moving forward because that was how I needed to go. I didn't feel lost. Now, today I meditated deeply and I saw the light very, very deeply, strongly. I haven't gone into that level of meditation yet, and I've been meditating a lot more than me because our world needs the power of that meditation. Just one person can make a difference. Don't ever think that it can. One person, one soul can make a difference. Just one. And if I meditate hard enough, I can send the goodness and the light out. I can send it out. That's what my son would want me to do. I'm going to read something, and this is from Sermon on the Mount, but I'm going to read something else too. This was actually a place that I had stopped, and I want to read it to you. Why is it that he seems to prefer to try almost any other method? Well, let me start the sentence above. Now, why should man be so reluctant, apparently, to try to change his consciousness? Why? Why is it that he seems to prefer to try almost any other method, however arduous or even far-fetched it may be? All through history, every other conceivable way has been tried to bring about the salvation of humanity, and of course all have failed. As we now know that they must, and yet man will seldom try the straight, S-T-R-A-I-T way until he is driven to it individually by I can't speak right now, terrible pressure. The answer is that, as we have already seen, the changing of one's consciousness is really very hard work. I can tell you how hard it is. I can tell you all about it. I've had to change my consciousness totally. I had to forget everything I thought I knew and learn all over again about 16 years ago. Yes. And I had a wonderful teacher. But yet, I am still learning. I will never stop. So, changing one's consciousness is really very hard work. calling for constant, unceasing vigilance and a breaking of mental habits, which is sure to be very troublesome for a time. The natural man is lazy, always tends to take the line of least resistance, and so in this as in lesser matters, he does not get down to bedrock principles until he is compelled to, until it is the last straw, until sometimes it's either die or do it. And how do I know? Because I've been there. I've been there. I know all about it. Now, the way of life, the straight gate, is, however, worth much more than whatever trouble or effort it may call for. On this road, the rewards are not temporary but permanent. Every mile gained is gained for all eternity. Indeed, the changing of one's consciousness is in truth the only thing that is really worth doing at all. A comparison from everyday life will help to illustrate this point. Suppose a man successfully removes a stain from his coat. That action will benefit him. Excuse me, I feel sick. That action will benefit him for as long as the garment is in use, say a few months. Suppose, on the other hand, he develops a bodily function, say his breathing capacity, by suitable physical exercises. The improvement gained here will be with him for the remainder of his physical life, perhaps 50 or 60 years, and is for that reason alone a far more important thing to have done. Even apart from the much more far-reaching effect upon his life of the operation itself. Now, if he makes a qualitative change in his consciousness, which is what happens under prayer or treatment, he calls meditation treatment. He calls change in your spiritual development treatment. Remember that. Then not only is the effect of that change felt in every phase and department in his life, but it is with him through all eternity, for he never can lose it. Thieves cannot break in and steal. As soon as you obtain the spiritual consciousness, you will find that all things indeed work together for good to those who love good or God. You will experience perfect health, abundant prosperity, and complete and utter happiness. I want to stop in this book right now. Do not think that my sadness or my tearfulness or my difficulties today mean that I'm always in this frame of mind. No, not one bit. Not one bit. But I'm a mother. I'm a mother. I had 3 children. And one of my children transitioned or passed away when he was 34 years old. It's not easy. And this was the day that they officially told me. Now I'm going to tell you something that you may not believe, and I really don't care whether you do or not. Late in the night, when my son moved from the physical world to the spiritual, he came to me that night. And maybe that's why I had a vision today, this morning, early this morning. Maybe that's why I dug so deep into my bed that even to still right now this arm can barely move. Let me tell you something, the bottom line of this vision. The bottom line is that we don't stop. We keep moving. If we stop, we'll go backwards. If we keep moving, we'll go forward. You make that decision. Which way do you want to go? Back or forward? There is no sitting still on this deal. You may think that you're just sitting still, but you're not. The longer you sit there, the more backwards you go. Now I know. I lived it for a while. And now I don't want to do that. Not at all. Now I'm going to read you a little something else more from the same author. This is in a different way, different book. For a while you will find that your thought will keep slipping back into the old rut. Remember that bottle I was carrying, that poison? It was half full. Ever hear about the half empty, half full concept? But the scary thing is that it was half full. That means that some of that poison was taken by some of our souls. This is a spiritual thing, and you have to look at it that way, in a spiritual way, not in a physical way, not in a mental way. You have to let go of the mental process and try to look at it spiritually. Okay. Let's start here. By changing your mind about your problems in this way and keeping it changed, you are building a new mental equivalent. A mental equivalent of harmony and success. And the mental equivalent, as we know, must be outpictured in your experience. For a while, you will find that your thought will keep slipping back into the old rut, such as is the force of habit. Slipping back. Remember the backwards. But if you are quietly persistent, you will gain the victory. It is always a little difficult to change a habit, but it can be done. And then the new right habit becomes easier than the old wrong habit, and that is how a new mental equivalent is built. We must take our spiritual learnings, our spiritual desires, and bring them into our mental thoughts. And there are ways to do that. If we meditate through prayer, listening to others who give you a message, change your mind and keep it changed. Do not talk about the negative thing or act as if it were there. Act your part as though the new condition were already in being in the outer. If you will do this, the new condition will presently appear in the outer, because the outer is always but the projection of or outpicturing of the inner. What is inside of you needs to be projected outside of you. If you have good thoughts, if you have good feelings, if you have good spiritual desires, it will be projected out of you. We project our own belief and call it experience. And this gives us the clue to the difference between a true action and a false or unreal action. What is a true action? A true action is one that really changes things, that gets you somewhere. A false action does not. For example, if your car has traction, it is moving forward. That is a true action. And you will persistently reach or presently reach your destination. But if it does not have traction, there will be movement, vibration, but you will not get anywhere. You are wearing out the engine and perhaps the tires, but you do not get anywhere. You think you're moving, but you're not. You're going back. The vibration you're feeling is backwards, not forward. The same thing happens when a soldier is marking time, as we say. He is tiring himself and wearing out his shoes, but not getting anywhere. These are examples of false action. Suppose you have a difficult letter to write, or a sermon, or a lecture to prepare. Suppose you sit in front of a sheet of paper and draw curlicues, or cut the pencil to pieces, or tear your hair. These would be false actions, and many people do just that. Such actions get you nowhere. Nowhere. To decide what you're going to say, to start a current of thought and then write it down, is true action. True activity is always from within outward. False activity tries to work from without inward. One is centrifugal and the other centripetal. If you want to be technical, if you're working from within out, your work is alive and will be productive. If you are working from outside inward, your work is dead. Dead. And it will have a bad effect on you. We don't have to worry or be in fear of those who are dead inward. And there are plenty of dead out there. My son is not one of them. His spirit is bright. And I can see it and I can hear it. And he told my daughter, call your mother because she needs you. That's why she keeps thinking about me all day today. Because she knew that I did need her. And God took care of that. Just have that day. Have a beautiful day. Keep going forward. And remember, be beautiful on the inside because it will show on the outside. I love you.